I'm so excited how this bow turned out. I love it. What's going on, survivors? We're in the shop today. My name is Leaf, and we want to make a bamboo-backed bow with some EPE. This stuff is heavy, but we're gonna cut this in half, and then we eventually could probably get 4 bows just out of this one piece of wood right here. Let's get to it. We have our 4 blanks cut out here, right about 1/2 inch of thickness. Got a string line laid out, found the center, made a mark on the 2 ends. Now I cut this blank to 64 inches, so half of that's 32. And we're gonna make a 10-inch handle section in the middle. So we got 10 inches in here, and then we'll taper those out evenly towards about 1/2 inch thick, maybe a little bit smaller limb tips when we're done. So a 10-inch handle section right here. We made this 1.25 inches wide. We can even make that a little smaller eventually. And then we'll use our straight edge to go all the way up to the end. So you have this cleaned up, the belly of your bow, the bottom of it. Transfer it to your bamboo. And then the thing you want to look out for are these nodes. So you have these nodes, put that right in the center of the handle if you can. And what you want to try and avoid is a node being right here at the fade. So you don't want a node where it's going to just start to bend right there. So we're good here. There's only 3 in this spot. But you want to center them as well. So center the nodes evenly throughout the bow, so then it tillers a lot easier. So we put a string on this, a little tillering string, and you can see that this limb is bending more than this limb. And I can see why. It's thicker right here, thin here, thicker here. It's pretty even the whole way, a little thin here. So you want a good tiller on this before you even glue it up. So we're going to scrape this or sand it and then get it nice and even and then go from there. So I have this pretty close to a smooth arc. I may mess with it a little bit more. It's stiffer here, but the handle section is going to be stiffer anyway. But I still want it flexible to make it into that deflex design. And so all this needs to be able to bend. It's all pretty thin, which is what I've seen as common problems, is that people leave the bamboo too thick with this. So you want it as thin as you can. It's the backing for the outside, and then we got the compression forces from the EPE on the inside. And go from there. We are back after a long hiatus of working on these bows, the bamboo-backed EPE. And now we're to the point where we need to taper these limbs down a little bit. So as we go and do initial tiller, it's real stiff. So I made a mark at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. And I'm gonna start at the front here with the power plane, take off the first 5 inches, then go to 10, and then 15, all the way down And so that's gonna make a nice smooth taper from the back all the way to the front. I just took it to the belt sander because I wasn't getting a square cut with the hand planer. I was going too quick, I just messed it up. So I was able to stay a little bit more square this way, and I think we got a good bend to start with. We went down to 8.6 millimeters there, 10.6 on that side. I tried to go down from 10 to 8 about. So we got 10 on this side, and then down to here, 9.2. I could take a little bit more off this whole taper and make things more even. Well, I broke one bending it, so I don't know if I can fix that. It's not looking good. Might need to cut a new piece, but first time bending this ESEE, pretty cool. Alright, let's get this one down. This one wants to crack too, right there. Dang it. I don't think it's heated up enough. Dang it. That is not good. Ooh. Well, cutting out a couple new ones since I broke the other ones last night. Only one of them bent for me. So, a better way to go, we'll just do the Reflex deflex design. Got a new one laid out, got a new one cut out, let's get to it. Now we're gonna make the power lamb. I'm gonna start at 3/8 of an inch. Just gonna rip it down with this. It's easier for me to get square than the bandsaw. I cut the power lamb down to 1/4 inch thick, and now we're gonna make and feather out these sides. Well, here it is mocked up. What do you think? We have the power lamb formed, nice and thin, right towards the edges, right at the end. Nice taper all the way through, a little bit flexible, so it can bend just slightly in the handle there. I marked out in the middle where the middle is, and so then I can line up each one of these middle marks when I glue it up. And then I'm just taking this hacksaw blade right here from the Sawzall, just whatever, something to rough it up, because this is pretty smooth on the back. That'll help to be able to, for glue to seep down into those grooves you're making. Then this one, it's already pretty rough from the belt sander on this side. So I'm just gonna leave that. That seemed fine. Now this next step closer to glue up. Steam it on the stove for 30 minutes. You have to get this done quick. You have 60 to 90 seconds or so to get that bent before it wants to keep its shape. Then you'd have to heat it up again, and every time you heat it up and bend it, it makes it a little weaker. Feels good. I think I messed this one up. It wasn't completely in the center, so we'll see how it comes out, how the bend comes out. It's been 28 minutes. The center is right here, and the primary bend was here. So I thought it was on the center line, so I'm probably gonna have to heat it and rebend it. So that's 33 to the bend there, and then 30 and a half So we're off by an inch. It bent well though. Well, maybe we'll have to redo it. Okay, we did it a second time. We went to round 2. Degrease these with acetone, all your surfaces, and then glue them up. We have our EA40 epoxy mix right here. Just spread it on with a spreader stick. We have our power lamb, which is going to go in between the bamboo and the ESEE. So when we put this on, just spread it on nice and thin. Make sure you covered all the surfaces. You can see when you look in the light if you have all your surfaces covered up. You're not in a hurry with this glue. You have 90 minutes to work with it. Got a little bit of extra glue on the ends where the power lamb are. Okay, so I have some tape around these pieces. That's going to help keep it in place along with not getting saran wrap in between the joints. Then I'm going to roll it up, and that's going to help keep the squeeze out from coming out all over our clamps. Couple clamps right down here is going to hold our backing down in between our power lamb and the belly. So I'm going to get things started here, because it's hard to get this part tight right away. I'm going to start down here at the bottom end. And once I get up to my clamp, I can take this one off. Move it up here. Move this one down here just for now. This bike tube is going to hold everything nice and tight. This is just a 20-inch bike tube that I've cut lengthwise in half, basically. So I got 2 pieces out of it. And so this 20-inch one, I was able to make a shorter piece, which works for the handle section nicely. And then stuff the end of this bike tube through. Then from there we can get a couple longer ones. This is from a 26-inch tube. And I'm going to start from, I got right to the end of this power lamb. So I'm going to try and clamp that down nice and tight. And then from here it's easy to clamp down the rest with these tubes. And then in the end, it's easy to take these apart if you leave a loop coming through. And then from there, at the highest point, we can put a block in. This is an 1.5 inch block. And that's to preserve our deflex. And just to hold that there, put a clamp here for now. Make sure that things are pretty straight to start with. So you could keep a clamp here or use a tube as a clamp as well. And then come around and then hold it around. And then wrap it around, doing what the same thing is doing here. Then at the other end here, we're going to lift up. This is a 5.5 inch block. Bring our limbs into reflex. So I have our limbs into reflex. Get the glue spread out a bit inside those limbs. Then about 6 inches down right from the center, that's where your power lamb is going to be going and finishing out at. So I'm going to put a clamp there because this tube isn't quite strong enough to keep it very tight at that spot. So this will help squeeze out some of the glue, help create a nice tight joint, hopefully. And then I'm liking the way that this looks right here, but why don't we try and pull this down into a deflex. Now we can use a couple other clamps that we have right here. And C-clamps work well instead of these quick clamps. Quick clamps like to twist it just slightly. Hopefully these C-clamps will keep things nice and straight as we're clamping down through. And they can even come the other way so you don't have a pivoting head. And so then that can help keep things straight. Now we'll measure our limb tips. 6.5 to the bottom there. 6 3/8 there, so we can try and go up just slightly. Now a guy could put some clamps out here and then clamp it down a little bit more. It depends on the design that he wants. So you got the deflex in the front, which brings the handle forward. Let's measure the lowest part of our limbs, 1 1/8". Eyeball it. It's looking pretty good. We'll leave this here, let it dry for 24 hours. So next day, let's take this off. Okay, it's looking pretty good. We have the deflex right here. We have, about 1/2 inch still in there. And then we have a lot of reflex coming in on the ends too. And so this was cracked just slightly on the end right here. And then when I put the tube on, it folded over a bit. So I'll be able to sand that out and fix that. We'll look at that later. Not too concerned about that because the epoxy is so tough. This is my dull draw knife. Just slightly scrape off all the glue and saran wrap. As long as your cracks don't go off and curve out to the side, it's going to be okay. So as long as they go lengthwise with whatever wood you're using, that's fine. A view of the tip cleaned up. I'm feeling confident about that. There's the view curve of it. It's looking pretty good. I think that side is 1/4 inch higher than this side. But we'll see what happens down the road. All the glue lines are real nice on here. Little gaps, probably to be expected. Right here where this power lamb comes out. But EA40 is real great for filling in those gaps and making it strong there. I'm excited. Same tip. Now we need to make a handle for this one. There's just all this deflex in the bow. So I laid this on the top, just like that, traced it. Got this line right here. And I'm going to rasp it out because going on the power sander, I usually go to one side or the other. Having a tough time, so I'm going to try and use hand tools this time. Doesn't hurt to use an old hacksaw blade. Score up the surface. More valleys for the epoxy to go into. Fits in there nice. That mark for this side, plus a piece of maple, another piece of Ipe, about a 2-inch handle, and we'll fade those in eventually. But you want to contour this so you're not torquing up or flattening out your deflex that you already put in there. So let's put some glue on, glue her up. So we have our handle glued together. Let's wrap some inner tube around it, keep things in place. That'll keep things from moving around too much. And then we can get a good clamp on it. These handle pieces just want to move all over the place. I'm going to alternate these clamps. The beauty about this glue is that you can take the clamps off, readjust, fix some things. If you feel that it's off a bit, that's what's nice about it. I don't want this handle to be torqued and then misalign the limb tips. But hopefully we did everything else right with sanding it down, fitting it properly so it doesn't create any misalignment issues. It's hard to tell with all the clamps on, but I think it's straight. It looks like the handle bisects with the two limb tips. Handle piece is glued on and sand it down. I have a piece of steel I made for the fades. So that's going to be the angle, kind of fading out there. I also used it for the arrow shelf here. This is the center line, that's 1.25 inches up. And that's about 1/2 inch in, and then just use this as an angle. And just get a general first look with it. And then we have 2 3/4 inches down from there. So a total of a 4-inch handle section. Just going to roughly just cut this out. I got a 1.5 inch chisel, go from the sides. Make sure the chisel, the bevel end is pointed down. You can also cut this out on the bandsaw too. And we're not going to cut this out yet because we don't know if this is going to be the top of the bow or bottom. So this could be the lower limb. This could be the lower limb. Not sure yet. Two angles like this, one on this side, one on the other side, and that's going to reduce the weight without affecting the tiller, the bend of the bow. Round these over so it doesn't cut your string. But don't cut all the way across because then it'll start to pull up right there and it won't be strong anymore at the tip. Okay, first bends, let's see how it looks. 40 pounds there. 43. At first glance, the right side seems stiffer to me. You don't want to pull over your target draw weight. So if I'm going for 50 pounds, you don't want to pull over 50 pounds. 46. It's looking better there. We have a lot more wood removal to do. Let's take more wood off the left side. About 50 there. After some wood removal, it's looking better. So the bottom limbs, once they get to here, pretty close to here, they're getting to a relaxed state. They're supposed to be pretty straight. That's where we bent it in the first place. That's where we heat and bent the middle of it, because the bamboo is so powerful. We're stretching the bamboo to that point, and it still has a lot more to go. But the belly wood would not be able to keep up with it. It would crush and gristle, as it's called in the bow world. After another pass with the rasp on both sides of each side, on the edges, I've already got another inch or 2 inches of draw length. It's looking pretty good. So I have it strung now with a low brace height, and it looks stiffer on this side, doesn't it? This side's bending a little bit more. You can also measure if you want as well. So we got 12.5 millimeters on that side and 11.5 there. So we're gonna have to take more wood off on this side, get it evened up before we go any further. So we're going to take the middle off to change the tiller. And you don't need many strokes. Left side's looking pretty good. The right side in the middle third is bending too much and not enough in the first third next to the handle. Now on the left side, towards the outer third, on the left tip seems stiff. And we're getting real close right now, where it's not bending as much on the left side. Just with those few scrapes, we're looking better. Still a little stiff towards the tip on the left side, I think. But I think we're real close. And we're almost to draw length. 41 pounds right there. 48 pounds. If we get down to here, that's 26 and 27. We're getting real close. All we can afford right now is just a few scrapes wherever we need it, because we're going to get to draw length quick. I'm pretty nervous. What works well is you measure with a straight edge and look at the gap that's formed in between the bow limb and the straight edge. And where there's less of a gap, that's where you need to take some wood off. We're real close at this point. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, what you can do to help me out. So I'm looking at the right side tip, and it seems like it's not at the same angle as the left side. So I think that tip area is just a little bit stiff, and stiffer than the other side. The hard part is that you could be taking wood off the front third next to the handle, and that'll affect the tip angle. So you don't want to look at the tips all the time. You want to look at the whole thing and see how it's bending as a whole. So where do I need to take wood off to make sure that it's the equal parts of the limb are doing equal amounts of work? Well, getting there, we're real close. I'm going to call it good for tonight. Sleep on it and then reattack tomorrow. Looking good. Two and 3/4 down from the center. 1.25 inches up from the center. That's where our air shelf is going to be, for a total of a 4-inch handle. 5 and 15/16. 1/16 of an inch more. That's it. Just two. Let's shoot it a couple times, and it should go in a little bit more. We have a different string on right now. We're right at 7.5 inches for a brace height, so pretty high. Equal on both sides, it's looking good. Just put this string on from another bow. Let's see how it shoots. It's looking good. Nice. After shooting it a few times, double check the brace height. 7.5. 7.5. Perfect. We're not moving. We don't have to take any more wood off here or here. We can do some final sanding. But first, I want to shape the handle too. So where your hand is going to be in there, it wants to be canted in a bit. So you want to take some wood out here and make it nice and comfortable. And I like to keep these a little bit flatter and straighter here instead of too much of a curve. But I'll do a little bit, but I like that bone to bone contact you get while it's pretty flat. So it's flat, your bone is right on it. It's not sticking out on a bulb of wood. Man, I'm so excited how this bow turned out. I love it. Tiller's great, nice and even. One of the nicest ones I've made. It's sanded down, handle is shaped. We'll throw some tongue oil on it. Let me know if you make one of these. It would be awesome if you did, if I helped you get there. It's really not that hard. You can do it. So we'll see you on the next one, and keep surviving. Woo!